I feel woefully unprepared for today, which is funny because we have less to make than we normally do. And I just got lost in the sauce, as they say. I am going to, okay, today, sorry, we are going to make what's called a custard cake. I have never made one before. I have the recipe. It's a little complicated, but we'll see how we do. Okay, so we're going to start by preparing the cake pan, which is supposed to be buttered. I was kind of hoping I would have my eggs separated by the time I jumped online today, but that didn't happen. So, best laid plans, as they say. So we will be making this as fast as we can, given that I had hoped to do a little more preparation. So, getting the bottom all nice and buttery. IT guy's helping me out. He's kind of being my sous chef today. So he is currently boiling some eggs. We have decided that for dinner, since he is going to be joining me, I wasn't sure it was just going to be me by myself for a while there, or if he was going to join me. If it was just going to be me, I was going to have a taco salad with the leftover taco stuff we made earlier this week for Taco Tuesday and Cinco de Mayo and all that good stuff. But he's here, so he and I decided on ramen because Mr. 513 is at a golf outing today. So, all right, so there we go. Our pan is prepared, or as prepared as it's going to get. So that is the timer to let us know that our little jammy eggs that we're making, because we're going to have ramen, is done. And I'm going to wipe my hands off. Oh, goodness me. And dry them as well. And then we are going to, I'm going to grab a quick bowl to separate eggs. Okay, so one thing I did that I'm really glad I did when I got my, hey, Christy, good to see you. I know, I'm excited to make this recipe. A little complicated, but we'll get through it. One of the things I did, I love my KitchenAid mixer. I have had this since like 1991. So I've had it a very, very long time. But we bought an extra bowl. And I am so glad we did, because for things like this recipe, that's exactly why we have it. I have let they're not quite to room temp, but yes, jammy eggs. Regular eggs, but not quite soft boiled, but not quite hard boiled. So kind of in that in between state between a really runny soft boiled egg and a firm hard boiled egg. So often known as a jammy egg. So I'm going to grab some gloves so I don't get all icky from the eggs. And if you eat a lot of ramen, they are really good at making what they call jammy eggs. So I asked him to help me out since we don't have the cooktop right here. And we see if our butter's melted. He's working on that. Like I said, I'm a little behind. I had hoped to have my butter already melted and my milk all heated up and all that good stuff. And I don't. So we're going to do what we can. And we'll get it done as fast as we can. Can you hand me the trash bowl, please? And maybe put a bag in it for me, if you would. So, all right. Yeah, I like the term too. Okay, so we're going to separate these eggs because we're going to whisk up the egg whites. So the egg yolks go in one and the egg whites go in another. And the thing is, if you get a little egg white with your egg yolk, that's fine. If you get a little egg yolk with the egg white, they will not whip up the way they're supposed to. So, all right, so egg number 2. And this is part of the reason I use the gloves. Because again, kind of yuck. So there's that. There's that. And this is the kind of stuff you don't get to see on the on regular cooking programs, because this stuff's all done for them by their sous chefs. So, or their production assistants or whatever. So, thank you. I'll trade you if you'll take the egg container since I'm done with it now. Thank you, dear. All right. Some days I feel like I'm so prepared, and other days I'm just winging it, which is, kind of like life, right? Some days we just wing it. All right, there's a third one. Ooh, there's a mess there. We will take care of that in just a sec. Oh, that's what's happening. It's because of the way it's leaning. I'm not getting all of the egg white. So, all right, there we got that. And I have lost a substantial amount of the egg white. So, I'm going to, I literally have enough to scoop it up in a spoon. That's the thing. And I need that egg white. So, give it the lift, because there's no leavening in this. So, and yes, my table is clean. I wipe it and keep it very clean. So, all right. So hopefully that's enough. Toss that in there. We're going to pop that in there. Wash the hand with the glove. Wipe off the table again, just to keep things clean. So, I'll be honest, I really didn't know what a custard was until I started watching Bake Off. And it's so interesting watching people make a custard. And, I'm like, it sounded a lot like pudding. It is a lot like pudding. But it's amazing how quickly you can go from beautiful and silky to just a hot mess. And this recipe is from Gluten Free on a Shoestring. I keep a lot of her recipes, and I've tried a lot of them. I'm not baking as much as I used to, but okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to beat the egg whites with some lemon juice. I don't have fresh lemon juice. I forgot to get a lemon. I'm getting lemons tonight because I have lemons in some of the stuff I'm making next week. And I need, how much? I need 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. We keep saying we might do some lo-fi music because I didn't realize how much I pause when I talk. So, but we're gonna, oh goodness, we're gonna start that. And what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna get it to stiff peaks, but not dry. We want glossy stiff peaks, not dry ones. So I'm gonna get this started. It's gonna be loud. And then I'm going to get 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, and I'm going to use about half of it in there. So I think actually what I'm going to do, just because, is I am going to get a 1/2 and a 1/4, and then I'll do like, oh, that's not going to work. Never mind. I'm overthinking it. Sorry. I'll grab my 1/2 back out, or my 3/4 back out. But we're going to start this. I'm going to get that 3/4. I'm going to use half of it. So, and by that time, they're probably going to be just about done, because that's how wonderful these KitchenAid mixers are. But they are loud. Like I said, I've had it since 1991, and she's still going strong. It is one of those things I would buy another one in a heartbeat. I'm going to add some more over the garbage bag, just in case it goes sideways. There we go. All right. And then we also need to warm this up. About the same thing, about a minute at half power to do it. All right. I'm going to slowly add this now to the egg whites. If you notice that my sugar's not extremely white, this isn't bleached sugar. It's a more natural sugar. I think I did it right. That's about half. So we're going to get it all going crazy now. Here's something else that's kind of wild. You only need about 3/4 of a cup of flour as well. Could you give me a bowl? Like a regular soup bowl, I think will do it. Yeah. All right, so while that's doing its thing, it's starting to get frothy, so that's good. This is a 1/4 cup. $95. Okay, and to that, we're frothy now, good and frothy. We're going to add 2 tablespoons, about a tablespoon left in this one. There's about 1. And there is not enough to even worry about left in here, so we're going to grab a new one. I learned a really cool thing from my husband, who also bakes. When he gets one of these, he opens it halfway and then leaves it there. And that way, when you go to scoop something, instead of needing a knife, you can just rub it along there. He's a pretty clever guy. Okay. And then we're just going to give that a little whisk together. Okay, so we are at stiff peaks, and they're pretty and glossy, not dry. So we are done with that little piece of it. Another reason I love these mixers. They all do that while I'm doing something else. Then we're going to set that aside. We're going to set this aside for a minute. And we're going to pop these guys on here. Okay. And we're going to put the remaining sugar in there. I'm going to rinse this off. It's the one thing I should probably add to my repertoire is to have a 95. You want it. I should add another whisk attachment to my repertoire. It's just makes things go faster. All right, so we've got that. And then we need, whoa, that's a lot. We need a tablespoon of vanilla. That doesn't make me mad. Of course, it is a vanilla custard, so. All right. And sometimes I'm a little generous with that. So there's my vanilla. Okay, so we are going to, oh, this actually doesn't want me to use the whisk. It wants me to use the paddle. So we will. Okie dokie then. That worked out even better. Okay. All right, we're gonna get that mixing. So it's on a medium speed. We're supposed to go until that is kind of medium speed until it's well combined. I'm going a little above medium. Then I have the butter. Okay, so we have warmed, melted, and then cooled. We got about another degree and a half. Yeah. All right, the egg yolks are starting to get pale. Just want to make sure this is, okay, this is warm but not hot. Oh, they're looking pretty. They're fairly dark because there's so much vanilla in there. But I can see it getting more pale, so that's good. So we've got 9 tablespoons of butter. And now we'll add that to mix it in. How close are we? We did 94 yet? Ah, there we got. We hit 95. That'll work. All right. So okay, so then, as sometimes happens with cake batters, when you've got milk and you've got a lot of okay, we gotta wait. Okay, that's good enough. All right. So we need to do this in thirds, which happens sometimes. So I'm going to turn this down just a notch. And they want you to start and end with the flour mixture. So I'm just going to put a couple of spoonfuls in. And then I'm going to put about a third of the milk. About a third of the milk. We're going to go. Let's do a couple of those. And then we're going to do that. This is really, really juicy. This is kind of wild, but this is considered a cake mix. I'll show you when it's done. I'm going to add this. And it does say that it says it should be light and fluffy. It's not looking light and fluffy. It's looking really, really wet. I'm going to double check the amount of 2 cups of warm milk, 9 tablespoons of butter, 3/4 of a cup of flour, eggs. Okay. All right. I'm going to scrape down the sides of this thing, but I'm not seeing fluffy. I'm seeing liquidy. So we're going to see how this goes. I'm skeptical at this point. Oh, well, it would help if we put the egg whites in, wouldn't it? So that's next. My bad. I'm like, this doesn't look right. Okay. Okay, it does say the mixture will be thin. I was like, okay. We got some on the keyboard. All right, now, again in thirds. I'm going to pull this up because I think it'll be easier to do it that way. Now we add our egg white mixture. We're just going to gently stir that in. Okay. Just going to do this a little bit at a time. There we go. There's that light and fluffy look we're looking for. Okay, that makes more sense. So this will be the leavening in the cake. And then the trick is to get it just combined so that we don't knock the air out of it. And then it says it should be light and fluffy. And that it is. It is quite fluffy. Get that out of there. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it is very light. And I'll show you once I get it into the pan. Oh, not all of it got mixed in. Daggone it. So I didn't let it go quite long enough. This thing is really, really full. Now I wish I'd put it in a 9x9, but it called for an 8x8, so that's what we're doing. All right. So there we go. All right. Our custard cake is ready to go in the oven. And what we're going to do for this custard cake is we're going to put that on a tray because I don't trust it. So like I said, I'm skeptical at this point. So I'm going to plop this stuff into the sink. Tried something new. I ran water in the sink this time. Hopefully that will speed up the dish process after we're done here. All right. We're going to put that in the center of the oven. I'm going to have IT guy open that door for me, and I will be right back as soon as I get this in the oven. Okay. This says it could take about 50 minutes. Hopefully it doesn't take quite that long. We'll see. But while we're waiting, I'm going to do a little quick cleanup here so we can get some stuff out of the way. And then we are going to make what I would call a quick ramen. Ramen is not quick, period. But we're going to prep some stuff. We're going to throw it in a pan or a pot. And we're going to make ourselves some ramen bowls for dinner. Quick, easy, uses up a bunch of leftovers all at one time. So, gotta love that. There we go. Grab one of my larger knives. And, okay, so one of my best kept secrets, shh, don't tell anybody, are Asian markets. Man, they're some of the best produce. Stuff you've never seen before, stuff that's fun to try. You haven't had a Korean pear unless you've had a Korean pear from an Asian market, to be honest. So nice. Now, I know if you are in certain parts of the country, if you are in San Francisco, for example, there are Chinese markets. If you are in LA, you're going to get Korean markets. But when you are where I live, you get Asian markets, where they will have a little bit of everything from a lot of cultures. I always take the outer leaves off. And I'm going to wash this off real quick. Kind of like a cabbage. Those outer leaves sometimes have some dirt in them. But generally, once you get inside, you don't have to worry about that. Now, I don't think IT guy likes Napa in his ramen. Is that correct? You're not a big fan of... I got the, I don't know. So, all right. Now we have We bought these bowls literally just for the ramen because we do like them. All right. They make it very easy to eat your ramen out of there. So for today, I'm just going to use some of the tender tops of the leaves. I'm going to let this drain in the sink. And I'm just going to give this stuff a quick chop. And I wanted to get that out of the way before, because this is the one kind of cold thing I'm going to do. And then I'm going to start the miso, or the ramen broth. I have miso in the broth. It's not just miso broth. So, all right, I'm going to do most of it in my bowl. Give him a little bit. So, and then we're going to put that aside. And I'm going to ask you to come get the mixer from me, please. I'm going to get this ready. Get it out of the way. Doesn't want to come out of the power strip. Come on, you. There we go. Okay. So tell me, what are you having for dinner tonight? If you know what you're having for dinner tonight, tell me what you're having. Honestly, when I'm not cooking for you guys, I'm generally having leftovers because we cook enough that there usually are leftovers. And sometimes I experiment on the weekends. This weekend we are having, let's see, the plan is to one day have lettuce wraps. That's one of our days. And then the other day, can't remember. I just made the list. You would think I would know. I know everything we're having next week. So, and I'm excited about it. And Christy, if I remember correctly, are you in New Jersey? And if you are, how close are you to Philadelphia? Because one of the things I'm making, and I was an adult before I knew this, that there's something we call a hoagie. That is called a lot of different things around the country and around the world. Now, they're most often, I think, called subs or grinders. So are you in a sub? Are you in a sub place? Is that what you call your long skinny sandwiches? Do you call those subs or heroes or, let's see, grinders I've heard. And here's the thing. We're going to have steak hoagies, what I call steak hoagie, on Monday. Now, that is not a cheesesteak, not to be confused with a cheesesteak, because that's not what it is. So you're a sub. That's what I thought. I went to school with a lot of kids from the East Coast. So, and first time they heard the word hoagies, and this was, again, back in the 80s, they're like, what's a hoagie? And we're looking at them like, are you guys crazy? You don't know what a hoagie is? So we started explaining it. And that's when they said, you know, oh, you mean a sub? I'm like, no, we don't. That's not what they are. It's that same thing we had about it's the soda versus pop thing. And I grew up with pop. What can I say? And okay, so the ones that are closer to Philly. Okay, that makes sense. Because when I was researching it, and I was like, okay, are we the only ones that say hoagies? And they said it's very much a Midwest thing and a Philadelphia thing, which I thought was interesting. But Cincinnati and Philly both have what we call pizza steaks. But theirs tend to be more like their cheesesteaks, only with a pizza flavor, where ours are actual patties of their hamburger, pretty much. But yeah, it's So we're going to have those, but we're going to have them the way we make them here. And I'm excited about that. So, and so is my husband because he loves a steak hoagie with pizza sauce, pickles, onions, and cheese for him. For uh, IT guy, he just likes the pizza sauce, pickles, and cheese. And I usually turn mine into a salad. So there you go. All right, so I am using 4 cups of chicken broth. To that, I'm going to add, oh my goodness, our miso paste. We're almost gone. I just lost the lid, so I will be buying new miso paste soon. Which is kind of perfect because the last day for it is June the 3rd, 2026. So there you go. All right. Hi, Teresa. All right. Welcome in. While we're waiting for our custard cake, which is what we talked about in our title, to cook, we're going to make some dinner. And dinner tonight is going to be some homemade ramen, if you want to call it. I can't eat the packets, so because I'm gluten free. So I make my own, and I make a soup out of it. Now, IT guy, he's a 20-something, so like he loves just the noodles. You know how that goes. So, all right. So that can go back. And if you would get me out the pork, please. So I'm going to let that just go ahead and start cooking away there. So, hi, Jay. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. We're kind of putting some of our, we're also putting some of our leftovers to good use because we had pork tenderloin earlier this week. So we're going to chop some of that up. But, all right. This is one of those things I'm kind of proud of. These little puppies right here, these little green onions, these were green onions I bought from the grocery store, and I replanted them out in my garden. And I don't try to keep them like alive during the winter time because I have literally like 3 windows in my entire house that get sun in the winter. So we get ambient light, we don't get direct sunlight. But about a month ago, I used a bunch of chives, green onions, whatever, not chives, green onions. And I still had the ends, all of the ends of the onions. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go plop those in the garden and see what happens. If they die, they die. But they are thriving out there even after a couple of freezing nights. So I'm pretty excited about that. So we went and cut that from there. And so this is kind of our first harvest from our garden. So that's exciting. And then I have some, I planted way early. Usually I don't get things in the ground until like June. So, and I think I said, oh, hi, Teresa, and hi, Jay. I think I said hi to Jay, but I'm not sure if I said hi to Teresa. So anyway, so this is kind of our first harvest. And I'm excited to get the radishes out because I don't normally like radishes. I was growing them for my husband, but I went to a new place in town for lunch earlier this week, and they had a pickled cucumber and radish salad that was so good, and it's a Mediterranean salad. So I looked it up, and it's kind of a sweet pickle as opposed to not like a super sweet, not like a gherkin kind of thing, but it has like a sweetness to it, I guess is the best way to put that. So I'm going to be trying that this weekend, see how that works out, and maybe we'll share that with you. Because if it's good, the mister and I are going to be taking a trip later this month. We're going for a quick little road trip, And you want them like that, or do you want bigger pieces? Okay. So we will be heading out, and if that's good, and I've got some more radishes ready, I might just take that as some traveling food for myself. So I always pack enough that if we can't find a place that's got anything gluten-free, I can at least make it until the next meal. Not that it would kill me to miss a meal, but actually I am a borderline type 2 diabetic, so not eating is actually worse for me than for my sugar than eating too much sugar, because it's weird. It's hard to explain, but if I don't eat, it's like my cortisol goes up. So if you're way younger than me, I'm going to just say this, and it's not this way for everyone, but it was for me, that once I hit 50, and by 50 I was postmenopausal. I went through early, but will you turn off on the fan for me, please? But ever since then, it's a body hack. And it's a little different every year. It seems like my body gets used to something and it's like, nah, we're going to change again. So I am currently in a space where I'm making this cake, but I'm hoping everybody likes it, because if they don't, half of it at least will go to, will go somewhere else to people that I know will enjoy it besides us. So, I have not had, I tried them once, tried making oven roasted radishes once, and I don't think I cooked them long enough and they weren't great, but I have heard that oven roasted radishes are delicious. So do you have a recipe, or do you have tips for me for that? I would love to hear it, because my husband adores radishes and they're not expensive. So if I could use them as like a fill-in vegetable now and then, and if we both enjoyed it, then that would be great. So I'm always up for new stuff, and that's why I love talking about things like this, because other cultures, even if you're just just from a different state, sometimes you just have different foods that pop up because you have different ethnic groups around you, and it's so cool. I think it's one of my favorite things about living in the United States is that we do have so many cultures, and I love that. I mean, I have an aunt she just passed a couple of months ago, but I have an aunt who was Vietnamese, and we learned how to make fried rice from her. So we make I guess, although when you see Chinese people make fried rice, it's the same way. So, but she was the first one to teach my mom how to make fried rice, and me, back in the 70s when I was just a little kid. So, and I'll never forget when my cousin got married, all of my aunt's friends cooked. So they were the caterers. But, oh, okay, cool. All right, well, if you try them, let me know, and I will tell you how this pickled situation turns out. So that might be too much meat. I'm going to keep these last few. If we want more, we can have more. All right. Now, for me, there is a noodle that I can get at Costco, and it's called rice ramen, and it's really good. But I am trying to keep the carbs down, and I'm trying to keep the grains at a minimum. And if I'm going to eat a piece of cake, then I want to make sure that I don't go too high on the carbs for dinner. I'm trying to go higher on the carbs at lunch and lowering them at dinner time to see what happens. So these are what they call konjac noodles. I'm going to tell you, if you ever try like shirataki noodles or konjac noodles or whatever, when you open these things, they smell awful. You're like, I'm not going to be able to eat these things. But what I found out was um, that the thing you need to do is you need to wash them. And once you wash them and you put stuff on them, then the smell goes away. So, but the thing is, like that little packet right there, it's 4.5 calories. So they're kind of nice in that regard. So I'm going to grab my scissors here. There is a little notch here, so I theoretically can just tear it apart, but I'd rather not make a mess on camera, just in case. So I'm gonna put these in here. And it's funny because I have heard that complaint over and over again from people. They're like, I can't eat them. And I'm like, number one, breathe through your mouth. And number two, just give it a good rinse. And once you do that and you get it in your soup and you put something on top of it, it'll be so much better. I promise. Now, if you were going to put like a pasta sauce on them, and I know if you're Italian, that might sound like sacrilege, but if you're going to use them for pasta or a thicker sauce, you're going to want to dry them off really well or like put them in a pan. But since this is for soup, it's not that big a deal. So do you want anything else in yours besides your ramen noodles? Okay. All right, so IT guy is just going to do that. And I'm going to turn this off because it is almost gone. Not almost gone, but it's reduced by about half. Now for mine, and he'll put ramen noodles in his. That's what mine looks like. I have a little more of the napa in there, and then we both have the leftover pork tenderloin that we had earlier. And then, yep, I'm going to do that next. So here's your bowl. I'll trade you. Okay, so we also made what is called a jammy egg. It's a 6-minute egg. So if we made them properly, it will be nice and done all the way through. All the white is cooked. And we cooked it for six minutes, right? 6 minutes, and then we put it in a nice bath. So I'm just peeling it. I guess I can pull it over here where you guys can see what I'm doing. Trying to get all that, you know how at the end they have that like stuff on them sometimes. And just be gentle with it. It is coming off. By the way, here's a fun thing. If you make deviled eggs and you always have problems getting the skins off, from everything I've read and everything I've experienced, you want to make sure that your eggs are at least a week old, because brand new ones seem to hold more than eggs that are at least a week old. So, all right, I can tell that this isn't a hard-boiled egg for sure. So, all right, there it is. Okay. I'm going to cut this over the bowl very carefully. This is a sharp knife, but in case it's a little runny, I want it to be able to fall into the, yeah. All right, usually, so maybe 6.5 would have been better because it's a little runnier than we would like. So about 30 more seconds, I think, would have probably done it for this. But all in all, not a bad look. So then I'm going to take about half of this broth and I will leave half for IT guy. We just made it very simple with our favorite. Oh well. And the thing about it, it's like pho when you get it and you're like, they put the broth over it. It kind of like cooks everything a little bit more. And he doesn't like as much broth as I do, so I'm going to do one more. And he gets half, and I get half of these guys. And I'm going to scoop that egg back up here. So there you go. That's dinner. Mostly leftovers, easy to make, easy to put together. Now, good ramen takes hours to make, or authentic ramen, maybe I should say, takes hours to make. But this is our quick little ramen for home kind of thing. Alrighty, so we've still got a ways to go. I thought that would take longer, to be honest. And I'm going to go ahead and put this over on the stove for IT guy. Oh, so give this a quick wipe here. I'm going to go, I'll keep talking, but I'm going to take just a quick peek at the cake, see how we're doing. Okay. It's still nice and fluffy, so it hasn't fallen. So I'm gonna call that bit a triumph. So we've got that going for us. Oh, the UPS guys in the neighborhood. So our dogs are warning us to save us from the big bad UPS guy, who comes into our neighborhood, by the way, every single day. Between my neighbor, one neighbor in particular, and a couple others, and myself, UPS guys here pretty much every day. So I am a person who drops them in after the water is boiling, except when I make eggs for my deviled eggs, and those I make in the Instant Pot, so that goes in cold. But if I'm making them, for whatever reason, if I'm making them hard boiled, because I know some people put them in and then they and then they, oh, my brain is not working. So some people put them in and start them after. I don't do that. Sorry, I have different lengths of chopsticks, so we always have to make sure we get two that are the same length. Because have you ever tried to eat with a short and a long chopstick? It's kind of weird. And these are two different ones, because these, if you can see them, I'm not sure if that'll focus on that, but like the ends are different thicknesses as well. So I prefer wooden ones. Do you still prefer the metal ones? I got a shrug, so not so much. All right. These are a little bit shorter, but they're at least the same width. So now one of my favorites, I used to love wonton soup, and I've got a mix that I want to try. It's actually a pierogi mix, but I've heard it's great for making wontons, which is awesome. So I might try a gluten-free wonton soup here in the next little bit. But now also, here's something really interesting. If you have an Instant Pot, if you're going to make egg salad, you don't have to peel the eggs. You can crack them and put them in the Instant Pot in like a ceramic or something. You just have to cover it so that the water doesn't drip into them, but it will be the best. It's so easy to make egg salad with about, and I use anywhere from 6 to 12 eggs, depending on how many of us are going to be eating. But that was the easiest way I have ever made egg salad in my life, was to not have to peel those eggs afterwards. So now Mr. 513 helps me with that. That's kind of his job. Need to taste this. I think it's going to need a little seasoning. I'm guessing my son will put a little bit. He's got his own little concoction that he makes with several Asian seasonings. Would you get me my gluten-free soy sauce, please? Also found something out. A lot of Japanese restaurants have gluten-free soy sauce. So people who are celiac can sometimes eat at Japanese restaurants that have the gluten-free soy sauce, which is so nice for them. Japanese in general don't have, I mean, other than dumplings, but Chinese are more known for their dumplings than Japanese. But so we just ate out for my birthday recently. Mine and IT guy, his is 4 days before mine, and we ate out. And I said something about gluten free, and she said, "Oh, all of our soy sauce is gluten free." And I've seen that with a lot of Japanese restaurants since, so I think that's really awesome. But first time I've ever had that brand of noodle, and I will tell you, if you're used to a wheat noodle, like a soba noodle, this has a little more texture to it. I would say it's a little chewier. It's a little more what we would consider like an al dente. But other than that, it's so nice to be able to have a big old bowl of ramen. I usually throw in some other veggies, especially if I've got some like hanging around in the fridge, and I have like what is it? I have peas, carrots, green bean, and corn mix that I'll sometimes throw a handful in here as well, just to add some extra veggies in here. But and I've also found out these spoons are amazing for soup. They really are. And once you learn how to the way to eat them, you've got you get a lot more of your broth in there, and then you give it a kind of a tip back that way. The other thing I found out, and this was just recently, you're meant to put your spoon that way when you're not using it. Then it doesn't slide down into your soup. The things you learn, right? When you start looking around for things. Trying to think of some things. Recently, there was just all kinds of things I was like, I never knew that. And I'm like, I've been cooking for this long, and you find out things that you're like, well, that's brilliant. Why didn't I know about that sooner? That's the other thing. In Asian cuisine, it's kind of considered bad manners to bite your noodles. So you're more expected to do something like this, or slurping your noodles, especially in Korea. Slurping your noodles is considered perfectly fine etiquette. As a matter of fact, like biting sushi in half or nigiri, it's not meant to be eaten that way. It's meant to be eaten in one bite only. So you not doing that is actually weird to them. And that's what spoons like that will do for you. You need a knife. Okay. Um, so again, things you learn that would be considered bad manners. Set that out. So do you want, okay, you need those things. It's IT, his own version of sign language. All right, so there's that. And I'm truly not kidding when I say we have a fair amount of, and you want these on top of it. Okay. And then all that, and then he does want the metal ones. So. Which we have several of those. And this is, I think, more of a Korean thing as well. My daughter-in-law is half Korean. And I believe we got these from them one year for some kind of gift, whether it was birthday or Christmas or something like that. Our cake's cooking along. I can see it. It's not browned yet, but I can see that it's on its way. Let's put it that way. I think we got about 10 more minutes, and I hope I can figure out some good things. Does anybody have any questions? I would love to know if you have any questions about cooking, about gluten-free, anything like that. I'm trying to think what we've talked about lately. Now, see, like I said, IT guy, he just got his ramen noodles out, and they're just the regular old ramen noodles because there are gluten eaters in my house. So we gluten-free what we can, and then stuff that they make on their own, they make with gluten. So talk to me if people are here and they're looking at gluten-free. I know that Christy is here very much for help her son to be able to cook for her son-in-law who eats gluten-free. And then mine is for myself. And it's funny, I met somebody recently who was also gluten-free, and we were laughing about the fact that, like, when you're at a restaurant and they ask if you're gluten-free, or you ask for some, like, if they have a gluten-free menu, they're like, are you gluten-free by choice? And I'm like, would anybody choose this? I mean, would anybody choose to not be able to just order a pizza? Or, I guess maybe some people do, but not to be able to eat something on the fly is not fun. That you have to research when you're flying somewhere, or when you're driving somewhere. You have to look at the cities you're going to drive through, and that you think you're going to be there at lunchtime if you're going to stop, or you just have to take food with you. So, I do take food with me when I fly. People are very good about it. But, it's just something you really have to prepare for. And I'm a little seasoned on that because my husband's a type 1 diabetic. So we've always had things for him to eat. Sorry, I have a little tickle. For a while, it made me want to not travel, but it's gotten so much better. And what's really interesting is I've heard some of the places you would think you couldn't go, like Italy, have some of the best gluten-free food out there. Like gluten-free pasta, apparently in Italy, is the best. Again, no surprise, but like the best you'll ever get. Some cuisine, there isn't a lot of gluten in it anyway. So, like I said, my aunt is Vietnamese, and there's not a lot of wheat in what they eat because so much of what they eat is rice-based. So that's, those kind of places, you're actually in good shape. IT guy and I went for Thai food one day, and a lot of their food was just naturally gluten-free. So if you're not watching anything else, now I watch my carbs too, so I can't eat a ton of rice. So it's a myriad of issues, but a lot of it has to do with weight. So when I eat lower carb and when I eat a lot of more vegetable and fiber, and so I try to make, especially the first 2 meals of the day, very, very much focused that way. So like when I cook for you guys, I can have a piece of cake. I can have, that kind of thing. So anyway, while we're sitting here, also, if you'd like to know ahead of time what we're going to make, and sometimes I share that, sometimes I don't. But if you'd like to know, you could always go to our website, glutenfreefromthe513.com, and right at the top, you can sign up for our email community. And I only email once a week at this point. I give you the recipes that we're going to make, and I give you the link to the live or to the channel so you can get there live, and you can decide, And I'll tell you, we also release the one day we don't cook, and this week and next week we are taking Thursday off. The week before Memorial Day, we're going to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we're going to take Friday off. And then the following week, because we'll be getting back from our road trip, we'll be taking Monday off, national holiday here in the United States. And then I haven't decided if we're going to cook Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But if not, we'll definitely do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll have to see. But I'll make a plan and we'll see how that goes, because our plan is to be back early on Monday, but it's all going to depend on traffic and driving time and all that. So where we're going is about a 10-hour drive. So we'll see how it goes. So anybody else, I have to tell you, in my entire married life with my husband, we spent so many years, he was an umpire. We spent so many years where he was making as much money as he could at tournaments and things like that. We've never traveled on Memorial Day weekend. I haven't traveled on Memorial Day weekend since I was a child. So I'm kind of excited about this. Just to have that 3-day weekend and take that road trip. We haven't done that for a while. That kind of thing. So yes, there are some really huge regional differences, and it's so funny. Um, and that's why I love to travel, you know, uh, because I just think you learn so much, and it's so much fun to find everybody else's what they eat and how they eat it and why they eat it, and sometimes it just makes all the sense in the world. Because, like, my son moved to San Francisco, places you wouldn't think would serve seafood, yeah, like a pizza restaurant, they'll have seafood. It's just pizza and seafood, which is interesting because seafood is everywhere. It's easy to access. Um, I'm trying to think what else. There was something else that a lot of things, can't remember, but there were some other things. They've actually got some. Well, everybody's got sourdough too, and it's so funny because my son hated sourdough bread, hated it, and I said, "Look, when you go out to San Francisco, you have to try sourdough bread." And he's like, "Why?" And I said, "Just trust me on this, would you?" I said, "They're known worldwide for sourdough bread." I said, "So just try it." And my son loves bread, but that was like the one bread he couldn't stand. And now he won't eat sourdough anywhere but San Francisco, but now he gets it. And it's funny because the the bakery that everybody knows for sourdough is not his favorite. He found a local bakery that he likes their sourdough so much more. And there's such a culture of sourdough starter out there. It's wild. So doing everything you can. Just use the strainer there. He's doing everything he can to stay off camera. So scary boy. But anyway, so now he loves sourdough, and he tried to make some himself, and he's like, well, this is crazy because I can get better sourdough without making it myself. But there's something about that part of the country that sourdough, it just lends itself to sourdough, if that makes sense. So hmm, so good. Anyway, but yes, next week, all Cincinnati. I did not know, again, until I started looking things up. We're going to have mock turtle soup on Monday. I'm going to make a recipe of that, and I didn't realize that was a Cincinnati thing. Now, we do have a company here that makes it. We can get it in a can. I've never made it from scratch. I've heard it's much better from scratch. So we're going to make some. I'm probably going to be the only one who eats it, but that's okay. Kind of makes me wish my father-in-law was still here. He's been gone a long time, but because apparently that was one of his favorites. And then we're gonna have this. We're gonna have the steak hoagies with that. And then I'm sorry, I have something in my eye, so I apologize for picking at my eye. But let's see. And then Tuesday we are going to make a local delicacy. That's what I'm going to call it. It's called geta. If you've had scrapple or a mush, they're related. I would call them cousins, not siblings, if that makes sense. Geta is made with pin oats, which is like a steel cut oat kind of thing, and meat. Now, back in the day when it first started, apparently it was made with like scrap meat. Now we just use, I use ground beef, I use sausage, and my husband added to the recipe that I had, and we put a little bacon in it now. So I will be making that on Tuesday. On Wednesday, which is 513, which is why we're calling it Cincinnati Week, because that is our main area code here. We're going to be making a homemade version of Skyline chili. There is actually something called the Chili Parlor Trail in our city. There are several places, or the Coney Trail is what they call it, essentially. But there are so many places that serve a different version. We have, and some of them are gone, that were around when I was a kid. But there's a place in Kentucky called Empress Chili. There's a place, probably the longest running, is Camp Washington Chili. We have Price Hill Chili. We have Pleasant Ridge Chili. We've got Skyline, which is the largest of the, sure, you can hear me that, which is the largest of the chains. We have something called Gold Star Chili. Who am I missing? Blue Ash Chili, right where I live. They all have their own version of that. There's a Dixie Chili, which is also in Kentucky. Empress is also in Kentucky, if it's still open. Last time I looked, it still was. So how'd I do? There's one called Chili Hut, which I've never been to. There's a gourmet chili. Oh, we did go to that one over in Kentucky also. And then I've hit all the rest of them that still exist. There's a couple that are gone that used to be really, really good as well. But it was kind of neat because back in the day, the original chili place was called Empress. And a lot of them were connected to a pizza place. And it's kind of interesting because it's a Greek chili. And then you would have your Italian subs, hoagies, as we call them here, and pizza. And they would be like separate restaurants, but they'd have a place you could go between the two so you could get both order both at the same time and carry those out. So, and like I said, it's a Greek chili. Most of them are Greek diners. And if you've ever been, I don't know what it is about Greek diners. Usually when you go into a restaurant, if it's got a big long menu, some of their stuff isn't all that good, but man, Greek diners, everything's good. It's wild. The other thing, there's another one, J&J's. That's not on that list. I grew up with that one. And the other thing a lot of the ones around here specialize in, as well as chili, the Greek chili, is double-deckers. Double-decker sandwich, kind of like a club sandwich, only the combinations some of them are just wild. My oldest, when he was younger, his favorite was bacon and bacon. And when I say double deckers, we're not talking like this. Like you can barely get your hands around these things. You cannot, you cannot get everything in one bite. It's just the way it is. And like my husband, his favorite is ham and beef. He literally eats one half for dinner one night with a couple of conies, and then he takes the other half for lunch the next day. They're that big. They all tend to be really good at like anything that you can cook on a flat top. They tend to be really good at, as well as the chili. So anyway, we should be about done here. So I'm gonna go check this in the oven again. I think we're getting brown. I'm gonna look here. All right. Oh, it's brown on the top. Still jiggly. I'm not sure. I think it's a little too jiggly to pull out. I'm gonna make sure. I'm gonna check her notes and see if we're ready to pull that thing out yet. But it's just a bit jiggly. It's a little more than a bit jiggly at this point. So we're gonna go maybe about 5-6 more minutes. Well, I may have to let you guys go because I don't know if I can talk for another 20 minutes. Not sure what else I've got to talk about, but so this is interesting. She has a note that she adapted hers from, it says canela and limons, pasto inteligente. So that's interesting. We could probably look that up and figure it out. But so, and she's had this one hanging around since 2014, so about 12 years. So hopefully it's a good one. It's got 54 reviews, and it's got a 4.97 out of 5 stars. So I'm pretty confident this is going to be a pretty good recipe of hers. So what we're supposed to do is we take it out, and then it's supposed to cool for at least 15 minutes in the pan, and then you slice it into squares while it's still in the pan. So, and it's apparently shrinks a little bit as it cools. So, and we dust it with some powdered sugar. So that we'll kind of have to wait on that. So yeah, we're not that far from New Jersey. We're only a couple of states over, 2, 3, depending on which way you go. If we go through Pennsylvania, we're only about 1 state away. So I mean, we can go up in Ohio and then go over the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and we can dump into Philly, and then boom, cross the river, and we're in New Jersey. So just depends on the route you want to take. If you want to go the southern route, you're going to end up down in 40, and you're going to have to go through Virginia, and I think that takes a lot longer. I think it's 7. I think we can get to Philadelphia in 7 or 8 hours, something like that. So, but which is funny because that was something. I follow a guy who's British, and when he first started doing stuff online, people from the U.S. would always say, "So, do you live close to London?" And he's like, "No, I don't live close to London at all." Well, then he started talking about where he lived, and people were like, "Wait, you're only like 2 hours from London?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm 2 hours from London." And they're like, "That's not far." And he's like, "Yes, it is." They're like, "No, it's not." So it's it's so funny, and so he's traveled here since then. It's Jason Josh. I don't know if you follow them or not, but they've been here several times. And the first time he came here, it was so funny because he had no idea. And I don't think it was the first time, but I think the second time that he came here, he drove across Texas, the wide part of Texas, and he just could not get over that they drove for 10 hours and were still in one state. So, we laugh about that because we have, and it's kind of an Ohio thing. We drive on a lot of our vacations, and that's how I saw the entirety of the continental United States. Honestly, I've been to all 48 of the continental United States. I take a little pride in that. I have to leave the shores to get to the other two, so and they are definitely on the bucket list. But driving through this country, you get an appreciation for how much beauty there is in every single state. There's something beautiful to find in every state I've been in. And that doesn't matter whether it's East Coast, West Coast, South, East, Southwest, Upper North. Now, I will tell you the Upper Midwest and the Plain States in the winter, I never want to go there again in the winter. I love you guys, but whew, that is some cold, let me tell you. Now, I've also been to Colorado in the wintertime, and while I don't want to live where the winter is that long, it's not as bad. Even though they get more snow than we do, their cold doesn't feel as cold as it does here. Their cold is often drier than it is here. We have wet winters, and we have a lot of humidity. I live in a river valley, and there is a big difference between river valley cold and plains cold. Now, the wind in the upper Midwest, where it's flat, like I said, it just cuts through you like a knife. Um, so not that's not something that I love. I've also been in the south of the South in the summer, and it is humid, and you feel. And I say this: we have about 2-3 weeks in our summer where I say it feels like we live in soup. uh, Oh yeah, we have a lot of Mennonites, and we have a lot of Amish in our area. The Amish are south central, and they're northeast and northwest for the most part. And a lot of the Mennonite communities are adjacent to them because they're people who have left the Amish and have um, embraced some more modern thing. Like they drive. You'll see a lot of Mennonite families that come to the zoo here in Cincinnati. We have one of the best zoos, I believe, in the world. I definitely in the country. We're usually in the top three, but we are world renowned for being able to breed animals that don't breed well in captivity. So yeah, we do have a lot of Mennonites, and it's a curiosity, but it's not like you don't go "Ugh," because we've all seen them. Um, the kids are just so stinking cute. Um, but what? I'm not getting it. Sorry, bud. So, oh, thank you. You reminded me I didn't put my spoon correctly. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Do you want a fork? Okay. We guess and guess and guess. Anyway, and yes, humidity makes a huge difference in temperature. And but my uncle lived in Louisiana, just over the border from Texas, right, not too far off. He was not on the Gulf, which gives you a little breeze, so you don't have the humidity. But if you get into southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and you're not on the Gulf, it is that the humidity is brutal down there. So, again, there's some beautiful country down there, just lovely rolling hills, the beaches. The beaches sometimes in Louisiana and Mississippi are a little bit nicer than even Alabama and Florida because they're not quite as They're not quite as crowded, but and then the West Coast is got just so much untouched. They really preserve the beauty there of the natural world there. Uh, it's it's astounding to me how much foresight somebody had to save the sequoias and how much they've learned about them, because they're these big huge trees. And what you find out, and I didn't know this, we studied them as a kid, but as an adult, finding out that their root system is very wide but not very deep, so it's very easy to kill them if you walk on their roots. So now when you go anywhere and the places where the sequoias are, they either have paths through there or they have like a raised trail so that you don't step on the roots. And if they catch you off the trail, you will be ejected from the park. It's an absolute no-no there. Uh, but just even getting there is amazing. So time to check our cake again. This time I'm going to get out the pads just in case I get to get it out this time, which I'm really hoping I can. You know what? This is, yeah, it's just warm now. All right. You know what? It can take some heat. So I'm going to put it up there. I'm going to put this over here, move this out of the way so that if I can get it out, I think you'll be able to see it better. Oh. Perfect. All right. Okay, so it's brown on top. It's just the tiniest bit jiggly. We're going to sit it right there. And I can't see if it's separated. So we would have to wait about 15 minutes to find out, to cut into it. So if you want to hang around for 15 minutes, we can do that. And I'm excited. So, I mean, it looks pretty. And what's supposed to happen is, I'm going to look at the bottom here. There's supposed to be like a fudge layer at the bottom, which I'm not sure. It looks like there could be one. It also may kind of separate as it cools. But it is like straight up 5 right now. So by 5:15, we should be able to cut into it and cut a little piece out of it and see how it went. So it smells good. It smells very vanilla-y, if you will. Oop, I keep touching my lob. Sorry if that sounds bad. My bad. So anyway, just back to hanging out around the United States. Even the difference between, it's funny, the difference between being in the river valley, and a lot of like the snow goes over us because of being in the valley here, where up on the lake in Cleveland, they get extra snow because of their water. We get passed over because of ours. They get extra because of theirs, just because of where they are. And then we have Columbus in between us, and it's really flat there, so they get a lot more wind than we do. And my son and his family lives up that direction, and there are nights where I'll be talking to my granddaughter, and she'll be like, "Can you hear that? Can you hear that, Nana?" And I was like, "No, sweetie, I can't. It's really windy." Okay, but and I remember, Christy, it's so funny if you're still here, that we had kids from the East Coast, and the first night this happened, it was scary, but it was funny too. We had our first tornado watch, and we were all listening to the radio, and it would come on, and it came on, and people are just laughing. They're like, "Oh no, we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto." And as a Midwesterner, I knew exactly what to do when there was a tornado watch. And so I started my prep, and They were laughing about it, and then the lights went out. And that's a big thing, you know. It was like, and you could hear the screams in the dorm. And so all of us who were Midwest kids, we had our candles, we had our flashlights, and um, we had our transistor radios back in the day. Now you could use your phone, but um, so we had all these things, and we're like, follow us. And they're like, where are we going? And we're going to the basement. They're like, why? And we're like, because when tornadoes come, they suck everything up. So you need to go down. And they're like, are you serious? And we're like, yeah, they'll take the whole building. And it's like, what? It's like, grab your purses, let's go. Fortunately, we were not hit, but there was one that was just about 3 or 4 miles from campus. So nobody was killed, thank God. Thank goodness. It was all just and minor damage. Now, I've been through some that were major damage as well. So, but that was just such a weird thing, and something that up until Sandy, as far as I know, you guys didn't even really deal with hurricanes much. You'd get some rain, but nothing as devastating as Sandy. But the only thing the East Coast kids were afraid of ever was fire. Where it's like, oh yeah, we have fires, we have tornadoes, we have floods, we have like, where do you live here? It's where it's where you live. You deal with it. I even said that my son, like I said, he's in San Francisco, and I was like, fortunately, again, knock wood, whatever. Um, they've had some little shakes. They haven't had any big shakes, and I'm kind of concerned about if that ever happens. So it's about 5 minutes in, and it is starting to. I can see it starting to shrink a little bit. So I wonder if it's kind of creating those layers as it's shrinking. But anyway, yeah, everybody's got different things they have to worry about, and I know some people think that blizzards aren't a big deal, but blizzards are a big deal. I have only, fortunately, lived through one confirmed blizzard. I've had other times where we've had a lot of snow, but not technically a blizzard. Um, Back in the late 70s, when I was a kid, we had a blizzard, and we were not allowed to leave our homes for 2 days. By law, if we were caught out on the street, we were going to be fined. Ironically, that second day, we lived in a small 3-bedroom ranch, and my parents, I guess, had enough of us, and they're like, come on, we're getting in the car. And I said, I thought we weren't allowed to leave. And they're like, we're going to see if the bowling alley is open. Sure enough, it was actually open, and there were like 3 families. They separated us all because they must have realized we were all just tired of being in the house and just needed to be out. And so they had one at one end, one in the middle, and one at the other end. And we went and we bowled for a couple of hours, and then it was less than a mile from our house. Um, but yeah, it was wild, and it got really, really cold that year. And as a child, I have walked across and back the Ohio River, so that was crazy, and it's never done that since. So it's never frozen all the way, because even the icebreakers couldn't get through at that point. It got so cold, the temperatures were so cold for so long, and we had a lot of snow days that year, and it was just brutal. So, and it was funny because my kids one day, and people make fun, and I think it's crazy. My kids actually had a my older ones, or well, my oldest one. He was in a school that didn't have air conditioning, and there were days where, and this was back in the days I could walk him to class, but there were days that when his school day started at 8 o'clock in the morning, his schoolroom was already 85 degrees. And by lunchtime, once lunch was over, everybody on the 3rd floor, which is the floor he was on, ended up downstairs in like either the gym or the cafeteria to have, as quietly as they could, they would have class down there because it was over 100 degrees. And I don't care what anybody says, that's not good for 7 and 8 year olds. He was in the second grade. And it's just, nobody's learning when it's 100 degrees. So anyway, so we're almost 10 minutes in. And again, it's still kind of shrinking. It's cooling down. I can put my hand on it now, but I don't think it's quite ready. So I might push it a little bit, give it about 2 or 3 more minutes and push it. And poor IT guy, he's like, please push it. I can see it on his face. He's ready for it to be over. So, all right, we're going to push it a little bit. Okay. So it does. It looks so pretty. So I'm going to like cut a little piece of it, see what we get. Hopefully I'm not too early. I think I am. I'm a little early on it. But IT guy's supposed to be somewhere right now online. Not somewhere, but he's supposed to be online. And so since he helps me at the end of this, it's really soft. So we'll see. But I'm probably going to make a quick video of the whole process. And probably should have taken a picture of it before I cut it all up. You want to take a picture of it before I take one out, and then we'll have it for if we make a video of it. So I have he's going to take one for me. And I'm just going to grab a paper plate here real quick. All right. So technically we should wait about 5 more minutes, but I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. See if using a flexible spatula will help. Oh, we have layers. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Ah, hang on. Let me get this off here. Like I said, it's a little, needs a little bit more time, but oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so excited. Ah. Okay. So you can see it. Look, you can see the cake layer. You can see the custard layer, and then the bottom is supposed to be like a fudgy layer. It's still really, really hot. I'm just going to take one bite, and then I'm going to let it cool some more because I really do want to, and I'll dust it with the, oh, there's the fudgy layer. That's so cool. It's hot. Mmm. It's really good. Mm. And yeah, you can taste like that custard layer is really, really light. It's like a cloud, I'm telling you. And then that bottom layer is kind of dense and fudgy. And then the cake layer at the top, it's got like a sponginess to it. So, oh, I'm so excited. You guys, it turned out. So there, now you can see it a little better from the middle of it. So isn't that awesome? Can you see it? Okay. So you've got your cake layer, you've got your custard layer, which is the largest one. You've got your little fudge layer at the bottom. So, woohoo! Yes, success. Thanks, Christy. I'm like all excited about it. So I'm going to eat dessert first, probably. Put a little, like I said, dust it with a little powdered sugar, or maybe put a little bit of whipped cream on the top. But there we go. We made our magic vanilla custard cake. I would 100% make that again. And thanks to Gluten-Free on a Shoestring for a fantastic recipe that was a little complicated, but she made it pretty easy. And oh my gosh, it's just delicious. So anyway, yay for that. On that note, 513 recipes next week. If you want to know what they are and you want to have it all in front of you, go to Gluten Free from the 513 to sign up for the email address. Remember to subscribe here so you can be notified when we're live. And I will see you guys all on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Love you all.